I don't deal in heartbreak.
What do you mean you don't deal in heartbreak?
Well, join me after this, and I'll tell you all about it.
Yeah. Here we go.
Welcome back, and we are going to talk today about what the responsibility of a buyer's agent is. And Russ, the way we function on our team, that would be Russ. And if you find any value from this video, do us a favor, click like, subscribe, turn on that notification bell so you don't miss any of our content in the future. And today, the way we're going to treat this is we're going to treat this more like as if you were doing an interview with a potential buyer.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the role of the buyer, and he's going to play the role of the buyer's agent. And we're not going to like play it, but basically, first of all, as buyers, if you're looking to buy a house, you should be paying attention to the questions that I ask him, because those are important questions for you to ask of a buyer's agent. And you should feel free to ask those questions and not shy away from them. But he's going to actually answer those questions so that you know what the right answers are. And we'll talk a little bit as well about the bad answers to those questions.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we'll start with the first one, which is, Russ, what do you mean by you don't deal in heartbreak?
Well, there's certain things in real estate when we start looking at houses. You're going to be tempted to look at houses that are above your price point.
Okay. But what's the harm in doing that? I mean, it's nice to look at nice houses.
Yeah, but then the difficulty appears when afterwards you're looking at other properties at a lower price point, which is what you can afford.
Right.
And you're comparing them the whole time with the better properties.
So basically what you're saying is that I expect to get that better property quality at a lower price.
Yeah.
And so how is that heartbreak though?
Because you can't buy it.
Because you can't find it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it doesn't
not
exist.
out there.
It doesn't exist. You can't buy a better home in the lower price point.
No.
So that just sets them up for frustration, doesn't it?
It does.
It's so frustrating for buyers then, because
It's really frustrating that you walk into a house that, to all intents and purposes, meets every one of their objectives.
but they don't have the money to buy
They
it.
don't want to buy that house because they're comparing it with one they saw yesterday that was much better, much bigger, on a bigger lot, but had a bigger price point.
So is this why you ask people to have pre-approval before you look at any houses?
Exactly, yeah. We don't just ask for their pre-approval. We want to know what their limit is, but also that what they're comfortable in spending. Because just because you're qualified up to a higher price, you may not want to spend that, because people still want to be able to go on holidays, vacation, and buy things that they want.
They still want to be able to live their lifestyle,
Yeah.
and not have their lifestyle be all about their house.
Yeah,
And not have
exactly.
every single penny invested in their house.
Yeah.
At least for most people, that's the way it is. So, okay. So I get that. But how long have you been selling homes in Southeast Wisconsin?
So personally, I've been selling homes in Wisconsin since 2015. That's when I started in real estate.
Okay.
I joined Kimberly, and I've been doing it ever since.
Yeah. So you're in your 10th year then.
Yeah.
So basically almost 10 years. Do you think that's important? Like how many years in the market, does it really matter?
It does, because your experience matters, but it doesn't matter that it's 10 years. It could be 5, it could be 4. As long as you've had transactions, and I've had many transactions where I work hard for the buyers, and they know that, and I get recommended because of that.
Yeah, to other buyers and
Yeah.
things. So, and that's the reason that when I'm working with a couple to list and sell their home and they also need to buy, I'm recommending them to work with Russ, because I know how good he is with this. But okay, so it says, one of the things that people think they should ask is, well, what are some of the trends that are happening in the local area? But trends in local area, do we run business on trendiness?
No, we're more interested in what you're actually looking for. So when we start working with a buyer, we always have a buyer's meeting.
Yep.
and we sit down and we go over every aspect of the transaction.
Yep.
You know, getting financing. If you don't have it already, we can set you up with lenders.
Mm-hmm.
So we can get you pre-approved, hopefully, and then we know what price point we're looking at. We also want to know what you want out of a house. Is there certain areas that you don't want to live in? Is there areas you do want to live in? If you want to be nearer to work or schools, what schools?
So stop for a second on that, because you said something about what areas you don't want to live in or do want to live in. So, but can you let me know which areas are like crime ridden, and like, I mean, can you steer me away from areas of town?
No, it's against the law for us to steer anybody away from any particular area. That is
Well, how am I
something-
supposed to know if that area is safe for me or
We
not?
can give you the resources so that you can research areas.
Okay.
We can let you know there are websites out there where you can check on the
So I
resources.
can tell you I don't want to live in this part of town, but you
Yes.
can't tell me you shouldn't live in that part of town.
No.
And in fact, would you say that's a red flag, that if an agent is telling you you don't want to look at houses in that part of town, would you say that's a red flag for a bad buyer's agent?
Definitely, because it's against our code of ethics.
Yeah, it's an NAR
It's
violation
actually a
for someone to say
yeah.
that you should or should not look at homes in a particular area.
Yeah.
And I actually think it's against fair housing laws as well. It's hard for me to know precisely, and it's hard for you to know precisely which laws that it breaks and which rules that it breaks, because we
never
don't
do
do it. So we don't pay attention to which particular ones they are. We just know
We know it's wrong.
we know it's wrong. We know it's not
in
right.
all our CE, in all our training, we've always been told it's wrong,
Yep.
and it's called steering.
Yep.
And it's against the law.
Yeah, I think it is actually against the law. It's not just an
Yeah.
NAR thing, but it is also really pumped by as a realtor, which is through the National Association of Realtors, we are not allowed to do those things. So that makes sense. Is there a way to? I mean, some people think they should ask like, what are up and coming neighborhoods and things like that. I mean, is there even such a thing as an up and coming neighborhood?
Well, there's neighborhoods where they may be developing newer homes. If you're looking in the market for a newer home,
Okay.
we would know where the builders are starting to build and the locations of those.
There are also areas I've noticed where some of them, like, it's a big turnover. Like, people have lived there for 40 years and a bunch of homes are coming up in that neighborhood because
Yeah.
they're getting to an age where they're not going to be a homeowner anymore. Either because they've passed away, or because they've moved to a home, or because they've moved into a condo, low maintenance, whatever the situation. There is a certain age. So we do kind of see those trends where at the beginning of my career, homes that were built in the 60s and 70s were starting to come up because those people were starting to retire.
Yes, and either move to a warmer climate or they were moving into condos because less maintenance.
For example, there's an area in Caledonia that's referred to as Crestview.
Yeah.
And when I first started in real estate, people were like, "Ooh, you shouldn't be selling houses in Crestview. That's like full of all sorts of druggies and stuff." Well, apparently in the 80s,
Yeah.
there were a lot of meth heads and among the teenagers and things like that of the families who lived there. The teenagers were into stuff that they shouldn't have been into in the 80s and the 90s. But we're now in the 20s, like, we're in the 2020s now. And that's a lot different.
Oh, it's vastly different. There are no problems
And
over
that
there now.
area now, Crestview, is not only very stable for families, it's also really easy access to Milwaukee. So in a way, I guess that would have been that would be considered an up and coming area,
Yeah.
because there was new construction up in that area. There were newer homes, and the older homes were pretty well maintained, and they were
Yeah.
close for commuters.
Yeah, definitely.
It became like a bedroom community in a way, instead of it being an
It's
area.
a great location for families now.
It's a great starter home
brilliant,
area
yeah.
for sure. But it was really interesting because I had a lot of people who told me, "Oh, you shouldn't be showing houses up there," and told you the same thing. And we were like puzzled because we're like, they're great houses.
We've sold quite a few houses up there.
And they're great, and it's great
Yeah.
neighbors and a really great atmosphere. So we didn't understand that at all. It's just that sometimes you have that, mentality of what it used to be versus
Yeah.
what it is now. So neighborhoods change all
And
the
I
time.
think us being outsiders, because we didn't grow up in Racine,
Yeah.
we didn't know those factors.
Well, we didn't have those preconceived notions.
Yeah, the preconceived ideas of what an area used to be like.
Yeah.
We just know what it is like now.
Which is really what's important when you're buying the house. It's not what it was, but what it is, because you're buying what it is. You're not buying what it was.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of areas of downtown that have come up recently because of people renovating
Definitely.
older homes and
Yeah.
things. So absolutely. So let's talk about communication though. How do you communicate with, like, what's your communication style? I mean, do you use text? Do you use, do you communicate via Snapchat? I mean, what do you use, Russ?
We use everything. We basically, we ask a buyer what their preferred method of communication is.
Mm-hmm.
And so, email, slower, because we only check our emails once or twice a day. If you want a rapid response, call us or text us. And most of our clients do just that. They tell us what their preferred method is, because don't forget, our clients work as well, and they can't always be on the phone, so you can't always phone them. But to send a text message,
Yep.
they can check it when they get a chance
Yep.
and call you back, or vice versa.
And when we did our one about what listing agents do or whatever, we talked a little bit about this, and our policy is very much the same, whether it's a buyer or whether it's a seller. But what's your policy as far as, like, are you going to answer your phone every time I call you?
No. And I would
Wait a
tell you
second.
that
Why would I
up
want
front.
to? Why would I want to hire you as a buyer's agent if you're not going to answer your phone every time I call you?
So I give the same level to you that I give to any client. So if I'm with you and one of my clients calls me, I'm not going to answer it, because I'm with you. I give you my undivided attention. But as soon as our appointment finishes, I will then return the call of people that have called me. So within an hour or hour and a half, I'm going to be calling that person back. Sometimes it will be between showings. So if I'm showing you a house and I've got a 20-minute drive to the next showing, well, I'll be on the phone to the other client asking them what, if there's a problem, can I
Or what
help
they
in
need
any
help
way?
with. Yeah.
And so I'll catch up with them then. And so likewise, if I'm with another client and you call me, well, then out of respect, I'm not going to pick up that phone. I will call you straight back afterwards.
Which is why if Russ doesn't pick up the phone, I would say we encourage people to text you.
Yes.
Because then you at least know right away what the problem is, and you will see it almost right away. You will see it within a few minutes, but you may not be able to respond right away.
Yeah.
And you can at least sometimes answer and say...
if it's something really urgent, then obviously I could say to my client, do you mind if I just call this person back because it's urgent?
And the other thing is, with being on a team, the nice thing is, if you call Russ and he can't pick up, we always tell people, go ahead and call me. Because I might be able to solve the problem, and that's what the team is about, is if it's a possibility for me to solve the problem or to take care of it for you while Russ is showing houses to someone else, I'm happy to do that. As a listing agent, I primarily spend a lot of my time in the office, so to speak. Like, I take care of the documents and I take care of a lot of stuff that is more office work. So I'm actually more available to pick up phone calls than you are necessarily. So yeah, absolutely. So, okay, that's great. What about certifications? Because a lot of agents are saying, "Oh, I'm ABR. I'm an accredited buyer's representative, or I have this accreditation or that accreditation." Which accreditations are important for an agent to have?
They're not.
What do you mean? That agents shouldn't have accreditations?
I have been accredited. I went through the ABR training, so I was an accredited buyer's representative.
So why aren't you an accredited buyer's representative anymore?
Because it costs money every year. You don't get any additional training. They don't update you on anything.
There's no resources that they give you? They don't require...
give you some resources that all cost money.
Right.
You
that aren't necessarily beneficial to you?
You can get a fancy magazine which is national rather than local, so it doesn't inform the buyers of local policies.
So it doesn't educate you on anything that you need to serve your clients?
No.
Does it give you any benefit that helps your clients?
No.
So is that why you don't pay the fee? It's not because of the money.
Yeah, I paid it for many years. I continued to pay it, and I thought, this is ridiculous. I'm not getting anything out of this.
That helps your clients?
No.
Right.
It didn't help my clients one iota. It was... you know, I'm glad that I did it
Right.
initially. It gave me a lot of confidence, because it wasn't until I took on the course, and I took that fairly early on. I was in my first year in real estate, and I went there, and there was probably about 30 people in the class, 20 to 30 people, and many of those had been in real estate a lot longer than I had been. And when they were coming out with examples like, has anyone dealt with a short sale? Nobody had, but I had. Has anyone dealt with a foreclosure? Nobody had, but I had. So I had more experience, even though I was
I remember when you came back from that course, you also said that you were shocked at how many people who had been in business for multiple years that had never had a buyer agency with people.
Yeah.
Like people who had been in business for years, not just a year. And you already had 5 under your belt at that point that were strictly your buyers. And this was in your first year, but you already had 5 and they were all buyer agencies.
Yeah.
So maybe we should talk about buyer agency. Why is that even important? Like, what is the benefit to a buyer? Well, I mean, obviously, let's talk about August of last year, of 2024.
So, August last year, they brought in new rules and regulations.
So do I have to, as a buyer, do I have to sign something with you in order to see a house?
Yes, unless it's an open house.
Right.
So you can go to an open house.
Right.
And you may be asked to sign in at the open house, but you're not signing a contract. If you want to see any other house any other time other than with the listing agent, you're going to have to sign a piece of paper.
And there are a lot of listing agents who don't show houses.
Yes. And the thing is, if you go with a listing agent to see the house, then they're representing the seller, not you. So they're not going to be pointing out the bad parts.
Or the things that don't apply to you, the things that you don't want. Like, they don't know you. They don't know what your needs are. They don't know what you're looking for. Unless, I mean, you have to tell it to every single listing agent you go to then, if that's the case.
Yeah, and so they made it a rule that you have to sign either a showing agreement or a buyer agency. Now, the buyer agency is there to protect you as well as the agent. So, and what I mean by that is it allows us to work in your best interest.
So, but obviously there's a fee. And if I sign a buyer agency, then I may have to pay you money.
That's correct. But we will try everything in our power to negotiate that from the seller. So we can still negotiate on your behalf to get them to pay some of it or all of it.
Right.
Or in some cases, none of it.
Right.
You know?
So buyers do have to be prepared to pay for their buyer's agent fee.
Yes.
Okay. So, but we also talk about that when we sit down with them, don't we?
We do. We talk that over at the planning meeting that we go through. So we explain the reasons why that it is now
the
illegal.
Rule. Well, it's not illegal because it's not the law, but it is the rule for all realtors.
Yeah.
And since 95% of agents are realtors, that applies to pretty much everyone.
Yes. So, you know, we have to get paid somehow.
Yep.
We don't do this for free.
Nope, it's not a hobby.
So, you know,
it's a job.
Yeah, so we do charge a fee, but we try to get, and I haven't had one yet where I've had to pay. One where the buyer was happy to pay my fee regardless.
Because they wanted better negotiation terms, and they knew that if they asked the sellers to pay the fee, that might knock down their...
And that's the thing you have to worry about, is it comes down to negotiating as well. So if you're negotiating closing costs and your buyer agent's fee, and then you want fixes done that come around by means of the inspection, for instance, then you're less likely to get that deal accepted.
Right.
But if you really want that house, then there's some charges that you might have to be prepared to pay.
Right, exactly. So, all right, so how much do you charge for your commission?
Well, it depends. It's a rolling scale, actually. It's if it's on the lower priced homes, we have a flat fee, and on the mid-range homes, it might be a percentage or a flat fee, and then the higher priced homes, it may be a lower percentage.
Well, it is a lower percentage.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a lower, if you're buying a house that's $600,000 or more, it is a lower percentage because we're not greedy.
No.
We need X amount of money in order to run our business, but we don't need that money to be an excessive amount.
Because, don't forget that all the time we're working for you, we're driving around to show houses that cost money.
Yep.
We are paying our board fees and office costs, and there's loads of incidentals that we have to pay out for along the way.
Yep.
And like everyone else, if you do a good job, you would like to
You deserve to get paid.
money. Yeah.
And the other thing that people don't realize is that oftentimes we're working with buyers. Sometimes we're working with buyers for 6 months to a year, especially in the last couple of years with a low inventory. And there are some buyers who just don't buy, and you still put all that time and effort into it, and they're not charged.
No.
And so in a way, the fees are commensurate with the work that we do for everybody and what we need in order to make our lives work in a regular way. And we don't live extravagant lifestyles. And so as a result, there is a certain level that, you expect to make every year that anybody who's working a full-time job would expect.
Yeah.
This is a reasonable fee for a professional to make in a year. And that's what our fees
And
are
we
based
go
off of.
over that at the planning meeting, because
Absolutely.
by this point we know how much you're going to be spending, or what you're
Or what
looking
you're
to
at least
buy at.
hoping to spend at.
So we can explain the fees at that level, and
We have also another fee drop when you get over $1 million. So
Yeah.
if somebody is looking at a property over $1 million, so there's a percentage in the middle, and then that 600,000 we have a drop in percentage, and then at $1 million we have another drop in percentage.
yeah,
So it's just because we're not trying to be greedy, and we don't feel a need to suck up a whole bunch of money off of people.
no.
So I think that's really good. So what is your process? Let's ask a couple of things. So if I want to look at a whole bunch of homes on a Saturday, because maybe I only can look at homes on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Right? So how many homes can we look at on a Saturday?
We do a maximum of 4.
Why?
Because we found that if you see more than 4 homes, they get jumbled up in your mind. And afterwards you're looking and you're going, did that one have the big kitchen, or was it that one? Did that one have the really nice bathroom, or was it that one? And you can't always tell, because all the pictures aren't always on the MLS or any,
Or they're not. It's hard to
they're
tell
not
them.
available for you to
Yep.
look at, and so you don't always remember exactly what you was looking at. So we limit that to 4. Now, have I shown more than 4? Yes, but that was for a particular reason. I had someone flying in from California that was here for a short time, wanted to look at
As many homes as they
many
could.
homes as they could. So I took the day off. We showed 4 in the morning. We then went and had lunch, so we could talk over those 4 properties
And kind of clear the cobwebs of those
Yeah.
4 from their brains.
and then we went to look at another 4 houses.
Yep, exactly.
So yes, I showed 8 houses in a day, but only 4 in a particular session.
Yep.
But that was because of the circumstances, and he ended up buying one.
Yeah, he was also. You did a lot of prep work before
I
he
did,
came.
yeah,
So
so-
you spent a lot of people will be like, "Oh, you only showed 8 houses and you sold him one." Well, first of all, the price point he was looking at was pretty low, but secondarily, Russ had done a lot of prep work before he ever came.
Yeah.
You had already done online video. You'd already done an online conference with him,
Yeah.
not video, but phone calls, and you already had eliminated a whole bunch that you had gone to look at without him.
Yeah,
So
and I would take pictures of the bad parts of the house
Yep.
and show him why this house wasn't suitable.
right.
And I would go, I've done it for other clients where I will take video and send them a link to the video so they can look it over before they make that trip.
Yep, absolutely. So, are there any special systems or things that you use, or would you say you're a little more old school and kind of really hands-on?
I like things a little bit old school, but I do use technology, and so I use both. I go on the computer, I check things out, I research areas. I keep my ear to the ground and listen to what's going on in neighborhoods, and it's worked well for me so far.
Yep. And do you set me up like a search or something like that?
Yeah, I would set you up with a search, so it would email you as many times as you want during the week, either daily, or it could be, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or maybe I could even do. I've got
twice a day
clients at the moment that are busy during the week because they work.
Yeah.
And they can't see houses regularly during the week. They're available weekends. So if anything comes up during the week, I have their permission to do an agent review where I would go along, I'd take a video of the house, and then I send them a link to the video. And then if it's something they really, really want to see because they've seen the video and they say, oh yeah, we want to see this one in person, they can make that decision to either take a couple of hours off of work or see it in the evening.
It was right about this time in the video that I realized this is probably going to need to be 2 videos. So guess what we did? That's exactly what we did. We are splitting this into 2 videos because, yeah, this is too much for one. And we've got some really great stuff coming for next week now. So stick around for next week, which will be part 2. But don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, turn on that notification bell so you don't miss any of our content, including next week when we finish up buyers, agents, and what you should be looking for. See you next week. Bye for now.
I remember back when I was young and clever and no one knew my name.